In 2004, a man was sentenced to death for murder, but he didn't know it was just the beginning of his 3 death sentences, 12 years later, with the same evidence, but it will declare him completely innocent on the night of October 27, 2003. Xiantan University in Hunan Province, a teacher accidentally found a male corpse. A male corpse was found. The deceased was a second-year graduate student, Zhou Yuan, with obvious strangulation marks on his neck. The forensic doctor identified it as mechanical asphyxia. The scene was remote, and the gate was locked all year round. This was a carefully chosen dumping site. After midnight, 2 figures appeared outside the cordon. The man was Zheng Ayan, a freshman in graduate school, and the woman was the victim's girlfriend Zioxia. When Zheng Ayan saw the scene, immediately squatted on the ground, holding his head with his hands, and hit his head. This abnormal behavior made him immediately became the focus of school security's attention. In the interrogation room, a love triangle emerged. Just the day before the crime, Zioxia just broke up with her boyfriend Zhou Yuan because he developed a crush on a new classmate, Zheng Ayan. The suspect's painful expression, all clues pointed to a simple conclusion: love killing. The next morning, the case saw a decisive breakthrough. Chen Huaishang, the senior of the deceased, identified. He witnessed at 10 o'clock on the night of the crime, in the laboratory of room 308, Zheng Ayan strangled Zhou Yuan with a hemp rope. With a witness, the police immediately isolated and reviewed Zheng Ayan. A day later, the transcript showed that Zheng Ayan confessed. He confessed that he was emotionally excited, killed his rival Zhou Yuan with a rope in room 38, and all this was witnessed by Chen Huaishang in the room. Physical evidence soon followed. The police found on the computer chair in room 308, they found a fingerprint belonging to Zheng Ayan. A shoe print was found on the ground, shoe print consistent with the sole pattern of his shoes, more deadly, in his pants. Fibers found in his pocket were identified, were the same type as the fibers found at the scene, belonged to the same type. The accomplice Chen Huaishang also admitted he helped Zheng Ayan clean up the scene and dragged the body from upstairs to downstairs and dumped. Witnesses, physical evidence, and confessions, forming a perfect chain of evidence. The police announced the case solved. In September 2004, Xiantan Intermediate People's Court made a first-instance judgment. Zheng Ayan was convicted of intentional homicide and sentenced to death. Chen Huaishang, as an accomplice, was sentenced to life imprisonment. However, at the moment of the verdict, Zheng Ayan broke down emotionally. He tore up the judgment in court and shouted injustice. A 12-year judicial tug-of-war began. Zheng Ayan defense lawyer Jun Jiwan found a lot of doubts in the dossier. Firstly, the motive, as the winner in the relationship, logically lacked a strong motive to kill his rival. Instead, Zhou Yuan, who was dumped, had more reason to hate him. Secondly, the time of the crime. According to Zheng Ayan and Zioxia's statements, Zheng Ayan and Zioxia were almost together. The prosecution's assumed crime window is the 20 minutes when Zioxia answered the phone. The investigation experiment shows that, from the pavilion where the two were to the crime scene, 20 minutes is theoretically enough for the crime, but lawyers pointed out that it is almost impossible to commit murder, clean up the evidence, and calmly return is almost impossible. More importantly, Zioxia, as the core witness, initially insisted that Zheng Ayan never left, until she was detained on suspicion of covering up. She changed her statement to say that he might have left. After she was released from detention, she sent multiple text messages to the investigators, insisting that Zheng Ayan never left that night. Because of this, she was arrested for perjury before the first trial, and could not testify in court. Physical evidence was also fragile. Fingerprints and shoe prints can only prove that Zheng Ayan had been in room 308 as the president of the student council. He did go there for business a few days before the crime. As for the fibers in his pocket, and the identification technology at that time could only prove that they belonged to the same species, but not the same origin, it couldn't constitute the only exclusive evidence. When the evidence chain pointing to Zheng Ayan broke down, the suspicion of another person began to rise sharply. The only witness, Chen Huaishang, the police found in his drawer, found a large number of things that shouldn't belong to him. A water glass, with his fingerprints on it. The cup contained residue of diazepam. And in the stomach of the deceased Zhou Yuan, the same ingredients were detected. It turned out that on the night of the crime, it was Chen Huaishang who crushed 16 Valium pills and threw them into Zhou Yuan's water glass, which caused him to be delirious. This explains why Zhou Yuan was in a poor state that night and needed Chen Huaishang's support. What's more surprising is that the rope and the victim's phone were also in Chen Huaishang's drawer. After the crime, he used the victim's phone to Zheng Ayan and Zioxia that he quit, text messages wishing them happiness, and sent a message to the victim's roommate that he won't, messages to try to fake that Zhou Yuan disappeared after committing suicide. Facing the hard evidence, Chen Huaihang's confession was like squeezing toothpaste. He admitted to drugging, hiding the murder weapon. He forged text messages and helped dispose of the body, but insisted that Zheng Ayan was the main culprit. He only helped out of fear and with friends. What was his motive? The police found the answer in his diary. The lines were full of jealousy for his junior, Zhou Yuan. He was tortured by the tutor's favoritism. Even when Zhou Yuan's project was not going well, he felt relieved. There is also a chilling sentence in the diary: try every means to hide. It's better to shift the blame and divert attention. Although all the key physical evidence pointed to Chen Huaihang, due to his witness status and Zheng Ayan guilty confession, the judicial balance has never been right. The second instance upheld the original judgment. In 2005, Hunan High Court remanded the case for retrial. Xiantan Intermediate Court retreated, but the result was still the death penalty. Zheng Ayan appealed again. In 2008, the Supreme Court refused. The death penalty was sent back for retrial. In 2010, Xiantan Intermediate Court sentenced Zheng Ayan to death. The case went back and forth between death penalty and retrial until 2015. Xiantan Intermediate Court made the fourth first instance judgment. This time, the court accepted the defense's arguments. It found that Zheng Ayan's motive, evidence at the time of the crime, was insufficient. Some evidence collection procedures were illegal and should be excluded under the principle of innocent until proven guilty. The charges were not established. Zheng Ayan was acquitted in court, while Chen Huajian was sentenced to life imprisonment with the same case and the same evidence, 3 death penalties in 12 years, but ended in opposite results. Zheng Ayan regained his freedom and received 1.27 million yuan in state compensation, but the 12 years of stolen youth can never be redeemed. A wrongful case ruins the most precious years of a person. The price is too high.